Hello, Sanbonani Babukeli, and welcome to this week's exciting edition of your favorite program, Yilungelo, Lakho. It's your right. Sizaguni ke la kumamba phambili SABC 1. Kuphi na kuphi mbukeli la phela nibheke lona uhlelo lethu njengotalwando vele myena ke osibheke lapha ya eqonce sinilethela lolu hlelo ke mbukeli la kumamba phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Alternatively, if you were smart enough to download the SABC Plus app, ungasithola khona lapho mbukeli uhlezi nomangcolo sila ungangibiza ngoNhlanhla ungangibiza ngoAlicia. Thank you once again for joining us. Sithi ke namhlanje mbukeli kubonakala engathi i-load shedding kuzoba into phela esazoba nayo isikhathi eside. Njengoba futhi sekusondele amaholidi kusazoba nzima ngempela. Yebo ukuba nesolar siyazi mbukeli ukuthi kuyabiza ephaketheni. Kodwa bewazi ukuthi zikhona phela ezinye indlela zokuthi ube nesolar. Hlala kanjalo nje ngizokwazisa ukuthi konke lokho ukwenza kanjani. Mbukeli ukusitshela kabanzi ke phela ngezindlela abathengi abangasizakala ngazo phela ekutheni bazitholele awabo ama-solar systems. Let's extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Dominique obuya lapha Ooba Solar. Dominique, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Dominique, tell us a bit about Ooba Solar. What is it that you do?
So Ooba Solar is part of the Ooba group of businesses. Ooba has been helping South Africans access finance to buy homes for the past 25 years. And recently, given the load shedding difficulties, and especially the impact that has on residential households, we've extended our offering to help South African homeowners determine or learn about what the right solution is for them and what the financing options are for them.
Let's talk about that. What is solar financing, Dominique?
So solar financing is a form of credit that helps homeowners or business owners buy solar solutions, alternative energy, access that where they don't have the money upfront to pay for it.
Okay.
For most of us, we don't have the money, the upfront money to buy a solar system.
It's very expensive indeed.
Yes. And so solar financing is a way of using, it's a line of credit. There are different types of credit products that help homeowners and business owners access the solution that they need.
And who offers this credit? Is it banks? Is it Ooba? Who is it? I mean, or is there a partnership that's going on in between the two?
So Ooba, we don't offer the credit ourselves.
Okay.
We, and on purpose, we position ourselves in a way that can be a champion for the homeowner, and we help them understand what the options are.
Okay.
So we work with banks and non-bank financial services providers who are registered with the NCR to offer these credit solutions for homeowners and for business owners.
And how do these loans work, Dominique? Is it a normal like loan terms of repayment type of loan that you would get from a bank when you just asking for normal credit, or is it different in if it is in what way?
So there are different types of loans available for homeowners. When the one type of loan is essentially having a solar add-on, an additional amount attached to the home loan, and that is one of the most cost-effective ways, essentially, to access this line of credit. So that is the solar system essentially becomes attached to the property, and so using the home loan as a way of accessing that credit is very effective in terms of it's very cost-effective. So that's one way. Other ways are more traditional. More typically like unsecured loans or loans that have the solar system as collateral. The gist of it, though, is that it is a loan product. It's a credit product.
Okay.
So things that are important there are the credit worthiness of the consumer who's applying for the loan.
So they do the necessary credit checks just as they would a normal loan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. assess the affordability. Interestingly, in the context of solar, is that part of what the solar system is doing is it's replacing some of an existing cost.
Yes.
And so that's part of what we help the financial service provider understand is what is the case, the financial case for the consumer that helps them improve their cash flow, and how does this help the credit provider make a case to issue this loan.
Obviously, Dominique, this is a new industry. I mean, with, of course, solar only becoming really relevant now because of a hectic load shedding. How big is the awareness amongst a lot of your customers, amongst a lot of consumers, particularly in South Africa?
So it's still, as you rightfully say, it's still very early on in the space.
Yeah.
And for the most part, South Africans don't believe that solar is something that ever they could access. It's too expensive. You're never going to be able to do it. They aren't.
It's for the elite.
Yes, yeah. And that actually isn't the case anymore. And so increasingly homeowners, when they buy properties, we're able to talk to them about that. Would you like to add an additional amount for solar?
All right.
And homeowners who have, they are now, given that there's more and more people, more providers coming into the market.
All right.
There's opportunity for them to learn about this.
Hold that thought, Dominique. We're going to take a quick ad break. Mbukeli, izi number zakho ngizozibeka lapho on your screen so that uma sibuya you can call us. Zithini number 0117140671, alternatively 7140676. Ungasithinta on our WhatsApp number 0608449857. We're talking about ama alternatives. Mbukeli ukuthi nawe usunga afford ukuthi ube ne solar installed endlini yakho. Kodwa uyibhadale ngama-stallment, uyibhadale kancane kancane. Sekuthiwa khona ngisho ama-bank akwazi ukuthi akunikeze i-finance. So umzansi uyaphambili. We're coming back shortly after this. Welcome back. We are talking about financing solutions ke ukuthi wena ufakelwe isolar. Yebo mbukeli ngathi usungangena ngisho ebank ucela ukuthi bakufinele njenge installment njengo credit nje iloan ohambayo uyoyicela ebank usuyakwazi ukuthi ufike ucela ukuthi ngicela iloan emayilana nokuthi ngifakelwe isolar. Ngihleli la no Mr Dominique DeHart ovela Ooba Solar, that is OOBA Solar. Uthi Ooba Solar, we don't take you for a ride. So I hope ukuthi niyakulalela lokho. Ingcingo zami mbukeli 0117140671, alternative 7140672. Ungasithola lapha on our WhatsApp line 0608449857. Alternatively, send us your views to consumer@sabc.co.za or interact with us on our social media networks. So Dominique, I was trying to find out, like, I mean, we're even talking about this during the ad break, that this is still a relatively new industry. So how is the competition at this stage? Are there other avenues that are, you know, options for people to pick the one that they want to go, you know, in business with, maybe compare the prices and so forth? How is the competition like in the space so far?
Yeah, so there is competition, and the competition really is coming from different types of consumer offerings.
Okay.
So so really there are two main types of offerings that are available in the market. So consumers can choose to own the solar system.
Okay.
So using almost more of a traditional credit type of method. So I want to buy this, I need a loan to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
It's
So the bank settles it like a car.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then there are variations in that. And then on the one side and the other side are rental products, where consumers don't ever own the actual system, but they enter into a long-term lease agreement with the solar company.
Okay.
And the main thing that we find at the moment that is driving competition is the monthly installment related to the cost of the system. And that's given that consumers, all of us as South Africans, are under such financial pressure, the lowest monthly installment is driving a lot of the decision, the immediate buying decision of consumers.
What's the lowest I can pay, Dominique? Like just give or take at the top of your head, if I want the rental type of solution versus the long-term buying solution.
So it's a great question.
Yeah.
The question actually is, what am I going to pay now?
Yes. What
and
am
what
I
am I
going to
pay next year?
Later.
Yeah. So right now the lowest rental installments are somewhere around 1,700, 1,800 rand a month.
Okay, and it's dependent on what? Like the type of solar system that you have in your house, the size and so forth.
Yes.
How does it variate?
Yes. So the size of the system is determined by how much electricity your house needs.
Okay.
And so really it's the first question that is typically asked here is what are you currently spending on electricity? So households that are spending something between 1,500 to sort of just over 2,000 rand a month could access these rental systems for probably 1,700 rand a month.
Nice.
And which is accessible. So it's really, these rental products are definitely solving a problem, an immediate problem. There are also credit products where you could own the solar system for a similar price. And that is, those credit products are attached to the home loan. And so it's very important for consumers to understand and think carefully about what are my options here. And because the rental businesses, I think they are doing a good job, because they're taking a lot of the hassle factor out of the question that the consumer has to answer. What about this? What about this? How do I have to look after it? So rental,
and also simplifying the whole process as well, I suppose, Dominique.
They definitely are doing that.
Let's talk about this. I also had a conversation with you before we went on air, and I wanted to find out, like, who are you rendering these services to? Who qualifies? Is it people in far-flung rural areas? Can you reach them if they do request? Can you reach townships? Or is it just urban residential areas?
So predominantly at the moment, the services are rendered in the major metro areas. There are absolutely the ability, and there are qualified electricians and solar installers who operate in majority of these areas. It becomes more expensive when you get further away, accessing the equipment, getting the necessary certificates of compliance, etc. So major metros are definitely seeing a higher rate of uptake than the more far-flung areas.
And what about businesses? Because I've seen a system where, for example, if you go to a nail parlor, they need to have electricity going. But a lot of them have not been conscientized enough, Dominique, in terms of going the solar route. So you will literally be left with two nails that are done because there's load shedding. So do you also go and conscientize businesses that this is actually the way to go?
So our business is being focused predominantly, or our business focuses on homeowners. Actually a lot of these businesses that you're talking about, beauty parlors, nails, small manufacturing, these things are operated out of households. And so we don't, our specific focus is not for commercial and industrial, so we're not going to businesses
and stuff.
That's not what we're focused on. We're focused really on helping South Africans make the most out of home ownership. And so how do solar solutions help them live better in their home, potentially run their businesses out of their home better? Those are definitely solutions that we can provide.
Talk to us about some of the barriers, Dominique, to entry in the market, and also access to the financing. What could bar somebody, say Alicia wants to come and, inquire about a product? I live in an estate, or I live in a complex. What are some of the barrier, forces that could restrain me from actually attaining a loan and actually getting the solar system installed at my house?
So the credit provider is going to be very concerned, or think very carefully about who's actually rendering the service for Alicia.
Okay.
So is the system that's going to be installed by this solar provider, are they going to do a good enough job so that it will keep working and it won't create a credit risk. So you think if you use like the concept of a motor vehicle, sometimes when the car stops working, the bank has paid for it, but you take it back to the dealer.
The dealer, yes.
You say, dealer, I'm not paying you anymore because this thing doesn't work. So the credit provider is trying to deal with that risk as well. So the first and probably one of the most important barriers here is making sure that they are qualified, reputable providers that are actually going to be doing this for you. And the bank or the non-bank credit provider, that's the first thing they're going to look at. And they'll look at it both in terms of the quality of the equipment, that's the components that are in the solar system, but also at the qualifications of the team that will be doing the installation.
Okay. And where do you even look for these teams, that the providers, the service providers, the installers, those reputable ones? Because I think I saw an ad, Dominique, I don't know if it was an international ad, they were saying that the solar panels that they're importing to South Africa, they already come looking like, you know, they've had hailstorms, battering on them just to prevent the thieves in South Africa from actually stealing the solar panels. Talk to us about that.
So I haven't seen that, but that's actually a very smart idea. So businesses that are, so the things to look out for in the solar provider is to ask them about their qualifications.
Okay.
So are they, first and foremost, are they
registered?
Yeah, are they registered? Yes. So are they registered with the Electrical Contractors Association? So every electrician who does electrical work, whether a solar provider or not, needs to be registered. You shouldn't let them work in your home unless they are registered with the Electrical Contractors Association.
Okay.
Why this is important, or one of the reasons why this is important, is that if something happens and that person has made a mistake or something has gone wrong,
something breaks as well, yes,
and they can't solve it themselves for whatever reason, the homeowner has the ability to go to the Electrical Contractor Association, and given that because they're a member, they will help to resolve the problem.
Okay.
So that's one of the first and most important things.
All right. All right, we're going to expand on that after the break, because I find it very interesting that it's just like a car. You go window shopping for a car, you go to a showroom, and then you just apply for credit at the bank. Because I thought maybe initially the bank would be the one that says go with the specific service provider. But hold that thought, Dominique. We're going to take another quick ad break. We're talking about solar systems, nama panels, ukuthi usuyakwazi ukuthi ungene ebank ucela ukuthi bakufinancele wona. Ukhokhe kancane ngama installment. We're back shortly after this. Ungayindawo. Welcome back. Mbogele 011-714-0671, alternatively 714-0672. 0608449857 is our WhatsApp line, and consumer@sabc.co.za is, of course, our email address. Alternatively, usithole lapha on Facebook as well as X. It's no longer Twitter, it is X. All right, let's go to the lines. We've got to Putemba all the way in Limpopo. Putemba, ngizwa ukuthi tutu sekhona. Putemba usangizwa baba? Putemba? All right, I just thought when I heard that beeping noise, ukuthi ngathi uPutemba sesimlahlekele. We're going to try and get hold of uPutemba again, because I'm very interested in finding out ukuthi wena Mbukeli, are you aware ukuthi akhona ama options kunokuthi uwathenge straight ngemali cash lawo masole sazi ukuthi ayabiza. Uyazi na ukuthi now you can have access ngendlela yokuthi you can actually go and get a loan ebhange usebenzisane neUba Solar 00. It's actually OOBA Solar, not le Uber lo cabanga ngayo, not lezo kuthatha ikise lena le. That is where Mr. Dominique the Heart comes from. Bona ke ba offerisha ama services ukuthi bakwazi ukufinance, bakunikeze ama solar panels on a credit bakwethu. Okay, so Dominique, before we went to the ad break, we were talking about installers and service providers, and you were saying that in your businesses, you will literally take the customer or the consumer through the right paces, recommend the reputable dealers, the dealers and so forth. Talk to us about that. Does that include insurance as well when you recommend these installers?
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So what we do is, in a very similar way to when people don't buy homes every day. So making a choice of a solar system, it's an infrequent purchase, it's expensive, it's complicated, and if it goes wrong, it's high risk.
Yes.
And so what we do is we help consumers, help homeowners understand what is the right system for me.
Okay.
What are the options? How do I know how to choose? And we have a team of energy advisors that will provide independent advice. This is the right system based on your electricity consumption, based on what you're trying to achieve, and this is the right installer in your area.
Okay.
And then, obviously, because we've been not obviously, but because we've been talking about finance, these are your finance options. And this essentially providing a package that solves all of those problems together.
Okay, and we were talking earlier on, you said you've got a head office in Cape Town and obviously some other structures. Talk to us about where people can actually find you if they do want that advice, if they do want to get into business with you.
Sure. So the easiest way to get in contact with us is to go to our website and to reach out to us via the website or on some of our social channels, Ooba and Ooba Solar, and then one of our energy advisors will reach out and take you through the whole process. Okay. In terms of we have regional offices that are in the major metros. Those offices are shared with our home loan consultants, and if people want to go there, they're welcome to talk to them. Our energy advisors typically are not in those areas. Our install teams operate all around, but the way that we've structured the way that we've structured the energy advisor teams and the solar finance teams is we put them together in our head office.
Ah, nice. Let's go back to the lines. Ubhuti Richard eduduza. Nsizwa, ngiyakamukela ohlelweni ungasibuza umbuzo nombeka umbono namhlanje. Ubhuti Richard, uyangizwa? Ubhuti Richard, uyangizwa?
Hello.
Kunjani baba? Ngiyaphila nsizwa. Umajali lo, go ahead usibuze umbuzo wakho noma ubeke umbono mayelana nesolar.
Yeah, ngicela ukubuza la ukuthi solar for inkinzo enkulu. 7 rooms. Iba malini? Ifuna amakhalula amangaki?
Oh, okay. Siyabonga kakhulu baba.
And abayistola ngamalini?
Oh, okay. All right. Very good question there. And I was actually going to go to this question. Siyabonga babu Richard eduduza. Richard wants to know, Dominique, for a 7-room house, typically how many panels would you need? And also what would be the total cost of the installation there?
So it really depends on the amount of electricity that's typically used. So a 7-bedroom house probably has 7 or 10 people living in that. Electricity consumption probably somewhere in the region of more than 5,000 rand.
5,000, yeah.
And so those systems are output of 250,000 rand likely, given 10, maybe more panels. It's difficult to say exactly because how big is the roof?
You need to go and assess.
Yes, how big is the roof? What is the? Do we need more batteries to give like longer backup, or do we need the ability to have higher demand?
Interesting. So Babu Richard, uyamuzwa ke lapho ubhuti Dominique ukuthi kuzomela ukuthi baze bona bazoyikalela indlu lapho babheke nokuthi ugesi eniusebenzisayo mhlambe ungakanani. So you do a pre quotation before you actually go and install
Yes.
Dominique, is that what you're basically
Yes.
saying? Oh, okay. Uyezwa ke Babu Richard bayafika bazo assessa babheke ukuthi wena ugesi osebenzisayo ungakanani, ama panel ozowadinga ngakanani nokuthi futhi uzo afforda malini. That is very important, the affordability factor ukuthi wena ufuna ukuyifaka. Richard, have you got inquiries from developers who are now going solar savvy, and you know that as an added incentives even for rental units and so forth, because we really do not want to go down when the electricity goes down with the national power grid?
Yes. So there are different types of solutions depending on the type of residence.
Yes.
So sectional title units that have rental that look like blocks of apartments or complexes,
yes.
and the like. Typically, it's difficult to say typically because it really depends on the residential space. Complexes and the like have many more options than standalone properties will have. And this is because there are different opportunities to different structures by which those things could be financed.
Okay.
The solar system could be installed on each unit that's in, or it could be installed centrally, and then the owners or the tenants could enter into different types of agreements. So they could have power purchase agreements, more like a rental structure, or they could purchase into the centralized structure.
Yeah, which is like, it comes up in your levies.
Yes.
Ooh, Dominique, apparently Temba from Limpopo is back on the line. Babu Temba, ngiyabonga nsizwa ukuthi usubuyile olayinini. Singakusiza kanjani kodwa namhlanje?
Hello?
Kunjani Butemba?
Hello?
Yebo Butemba ngiyakuzwa, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm calling from rural area. And the rural area is called Valdezia in Limpopo, next to Ilin.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Bab.
So, lots of people, they don't have these things in my state. I don't know where can we get them, because most of the people, they are unemployed. Most of them, they are working. But at least, where can we get these panels?
Oh, for ama office enu lapha eLimpopo Bab.
Yes, in Limpopo, Valdezia.
Oh, okay. All right. So ngicela umamele lapho Babu Themba lapho kumabona kude wakhe. Dom, he wants to know. I mean, I think they're running some sort of offices there in that area. And he says I don't know if it's a far-flung area. I've never heard of the name of that area. But he says they would like to have the solar panels installed there because I think that it's some sort of business that entails community work as well.
So, are there electricians that work in the area?
Well, we'd like to find out.
Yeah.
So that's the first question that they must ask themselves.
Yeah. Are there electricians that are in the area? There are. Fortunately, the South African market is very dynamic, and so load shedding how significant and how severe it has been for us, it resulted in a lot of electrical importing businesses bringing this equipment into the country. And so what's happened now is that we have many very, very reputable suppliers who are importing good quality equipment.
Okay.
And there have been many traditional electrician businesses that have trained their staff in order to be able to do this properly. And so that would be my recommendation is who is the local electrician?
Okay.
Have a conversation and ask the questions around the qualifications of the people on his team.
Alternatively, they can just call you and then you'll give them advice and you come do a survey. Okay, Babu Themba, I hope ukuthi uzwile lapho nsizwa kuthiwa qala nibuza ukuthi obani abasebenza ngogesi lapho in the area. Ibona ke abantu abazonikeza iadvice ukuthi kumele niye kuphi na kuphi. Alternatively, ningathinta bona ioffice lo Dominique online or kwi-website banitshele ukuthi niqhubeka kanjani ngaloko. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. We're going to take another quick ad break. Hey, siyabuya emva kwaleli khefu ngayindawo. Khuluma ngokuthi phela what are your alternatives ukuthi uthole amasola lapho ekhaya endlini yakho njengoba phela load shedding engathi nje akekho nowaziyo ukuthi mbukeli izophela nini. Sizwile ugovernment uthi they don't have a set date ukuthi le load shedding izophela nini. So abantu bafaka ama-solar panels and in most years you just believe ukuthi they're expensive, but there's alternatives. I'm sitting here with Mr. Dominique de Hart ovela Ooba Solar. Ooba wakhona is OOBA. Ooba Solar, not the Uber lokuthatha for a ride cha. Uthi ke uDominique niyakwazi ukuthi nibathinte ema-office labo. Bakhona futhi abanye abasebenza nabo uthi ama-electricians in your area abangakwazi ukuthi bakunike advice ukuthi wena how do you go about getting a loan secured ukuthi urente out those solar panels so that sizoqhubeka bafethu siphile impilo. Let's go back to the lines. Aphiwe Mthatha, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to the show. Singakusiza kanjani? Aphiwe?
Hello.
Hi, Puti. Ndiyaphila Puti njani?
Ngiyaphila.
Ngiyaphila Puti. Go ahead.
So I just have a question. I'm a young youth who's owning a technology company and has interest in the solar system. So I just have a question. Is there any opportunity whereby you can partner with a company? Maybe I can become a distributor in my province, or maybe actually advertise the solar system they are offering, because we're limited in the Eastern Cape.
And you are in the Eastern Cape, angithi put up here.
Sorry?
Eastern Cape, angithi.
Yes, it's in the Eastern Cape Umtata.
Oh, okay. So you're asking for the area yakho ukuthi bangakusiza kanjani. Siyabonga Nsizwa. Is there anything else you want to ask before I let you go and let Dominique address you? All right. Okay, Siyabonga Aphiwe all the way in Mthatha. I'm sure you got that question, Dom. So what do you want to say to him? Very interesting and innovative young man there.
Yes. So we're always looking for partners, because especially in areas that are not directly in the major metros, it's difficult to find and recommend good quality providers that we can connect with and we can make recommendations based on. So
what does he do?
So first and foremost, he'd need to undertake the specific training. So either AREP, which is Association of Renewable Energy Practitioners, very specific education around solar system and a certification. And that indicates to us that this is a properly trained person, a properly trained team that understand what would need to be undertaken.
Okay, so that's what he needs to do before getting in contact with you, and then you'll obviously give him, the do's and don'ts. And then, talk to us about your members that you basically say are the reputable dealers or installers that you actually recommend. What was the process that they had to get through in order to be part of your supply chain?
Great. So there are in South Africa at the moment there are two solar-specific courses of education. So the one is AREP, which I spoke about, Association of Renewable Energy Practitioners, and the other one is the PV Green Card, PV photovoltaic. That's the technology that's in the panels.
Okay.
Green Card.
Okay.
And that is administered by, sorry for the acronyms, SAPVIA, South African Photovoltaic Industry Association.
Geez, Dom, when are we going to see these coming into the mainstream market, and particularly in varsities as well as Tibet colleges?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a good question, actually, because we can talk a lot about this in
the integration into our education system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the things that we look for. First and foremost, we need to have qualified electricians, as I'd spoken about before, that are registered with the department and are part of the Electrical Contractors Association. And this is important because when a solar system or when any electrical work is done in a property, whether residential or in a business property, the owner of that property needs to make sure that they have a certificate of compliance. This is a legal requirement.
Okay.
And it's critically important because if something happens, the insurance of that property will not cover the damage of it. So, first and foremost, do we have qualified permanent members on staff that are certified electricians, have the wireman's license, and are able to issue the certificate of compliance? Number one. Number two, are they trained in solar-specific education, either the AREP or the SAPVIA qualification?
Okay.
So those are some of the key things that we look at. We also look for the installation history, and we actually speak to customers that they have previously served. And this is not just a once-off, you're onboarded and then off you go. We have a continuous quality control process to make sure that the promises that we make to customers are being kept.
Very interesting. Now, Dom, what happens when a consumer can no longer honor the payments as they would, like loans for a car and a house, for solar financing and rent and the rent-to-own option? What happens then? Do you come and remove the solar panels from the house? What happens in that instance?
So it differs based on whether it's a rental solution or whether it's a financed solution. And then and then depending on the type of finance will determine that. So let's talk first about the rental solutions. So rental companies that are providing these services, they have something called a deinstallation fee.
Okay.
And so what happens is if the consumer can no longer pay, the rental company will come and try to remove the assets.
Okay.
Yeah? And then the consumer will be liable for the deinstallation fee. Now, this is a very, very important part of the things that we highly recommend consumers go into these agreements with their eyes wide open. Speak to people who can give them good quality advice and say, if you have this option and you rent it, that's a good option for now because it has a low installment. This is what might happen, or when you want to switch, this is what might happen. So our recommendation is when there is a financial problem, something's happened, can't afford it anymore, don't wait until, don't let the debit order bounce.
6 months later.
Don't let it bounce. Have a conversation. Be upfront about it, because then you have an opportunity to deal with the issue. And in a credit product, so if it's attached to your home loan, or if you've taken a solar specific loan, which now there are lots more options available, you'll be able to have an upfront conversation with the credit provider, and we could try and support you in that process. You could say, I have lost some of my income. I can't afford to pay 1,800 Rand a month. And then you could restructure that finance. Maybe it's a change in the loan term.
Okay, so it's pretty flexible.
So
but you need to be proactive and upfront.
Yes, so be upfront. Because if you wait, the problems only get bigger. They don't go away.
And it's going to get bigger when they come and remove that solar panel. Let's quickly go to the lines before we go to the ad break. But Patrick, right here in Gauteng. But Patrick, thank you so much for staying on the line. Baba singakusiza kanjani namhlanje? But Patrick, it sounds like Ooba Solar. But Patrick, can you hear me? All right, but Patrick can't hear me, unfortunately. Keep trying, but Patrick, we're going to take a quick ad break. More solar news, solar financing news coming up shortly after that. Ungayindawo. Welcome back. Sisadingida udaba lama solar panels phela nokuthi usungawuthola installation nawe through e-bank loan. As a loan ungakhona ukuthi uyikhokhele ngama installment. Let's go back to the lines lapha ubud Patrick khona la eGauteng usebuyile Nsizwa. Thank you so much for returning to us on the show. Singakusiza kanjani this afternoon? Bud Patrick?
Yes, mama.
Kunjani baba?
Khona kunjani ma?
Ngiyaphila Nsizwa. Ungasibuza umbuzo Nsizwa noma ubeka umbono?
No, mina bengicela ukubuza mama ukuthi iloni le uma uyithatha isikhathi esingakanani uma uyi-implementa mhlawumbe like ku-8 room.
Okay, 8 room.
Yes.
Okay, all right ke baba. Ubusuzwile Bud Patrick ukuthi ubechazile uDominique ukuthi kumele baqale bazobheka ukuthi kuleyo 8 room lwakho nisebenzisa ugesi omngakanani nibangaki, so that benze i-assessment assessment before befika bazoku-installela. Ukuzwile lokho? Usakhona Bud Pat?
Usekhona into nje uyakhatha ngibuye ngingakuzwa kahle kodwa ngizwile ukuthi uthini.
Yeah, ngilalele lapho ke ngimabona kude Nsizwa wami. Ngizombuza ke ulokhuzana uBud Dominique ukuthi ithatha isikhathi esingakanani. Dom, he wants to know how long would then that loan agreement term be, say for like an installation on an 8-bedroom house. So I just explained to him a little bit that we had gone through, of course, the process of pre-assessments and so forth. So maybe just talk to him about that. Like how long, plus minus?
It depends on the credit product.
Okay.
So if there's an existing home loan, we could add the amount for the solar onto the home loan. If there isn't a home loan, but he's the owner of the property, we could use the mortgage bond as a way to fund that. For that, he has options of a 10, a 20, or even a 30-year term. The design life of a solar system, the shortest lifespan part of the solar system is typically the battery.
Okay.
Those are designed to have a lifespan of at least 10 years. The other parts, the panels, 25. So it's important to try and think about matching the loan term with the useful life of the system. So if I go back to your question, what would the loan term be? If you use your home loan, it could be anything up to 20 years.
Okay.
If you use an option of a solar-specific finance option, you could have a term of 5 years.
I see. All right, but Pat, ngiyathemba uyezwa ke lapho Nsizwa uyasho ke ubaba ukuthi izinto nje ekumele uyiqaphele lapho ukuthi ubheke ukuthi izinto ezifana nebattery iyakwazi ukuthi iphile for about 10 years, whereas ama panels themselves ane lifespan echuthi aphila mhlawumbe isikhathi esingango 25 years. So uthi kumele understand lezo zinto before kuzo installwa, so that uzokwazi also the loan amount ozoyithatha nokuthi ukwazi phela ukuthi uyikhokhe. Uthi ke kungenzeka ke ukuthi if uyithathe mhlambe imayilana or ihamselana phela ne home loan yakho uzokhokha maybe lo 25 years, ngoba siyazi ukuthi South Africa basikhokhisa ama home loans that long. All right, so Dom, look, talk to us about the process when applying for solar financing, from the requirements, documents that are required, to the final stage when you finally get your solar panels delivered and mounted on top of your roof.
Great. So the thing we're financing here is the solar system.
Okay.
So the first thing we need is to have a proper quote, a proposal around what the specific requirements are.
Okay.
And I think we've spoken a little bit about the process of that. So you'd work with a reputable installer to say, you need this, 10 panels, 10, whatever the case may be. So that you'd have the quote. That's the first important document. The second would be a finance application related document. So if you're employed, you receive a salary, we'd need pay slips, and then we'd need
Proof of residence.
proof of residence. So and we'd need bank statements.
Okay.
And then we'd complete the application form. Our solar finance team can help you complete the application form. And essentially all of this can be done online. We'd take those documents and the actual quote for the solar system. We'd check that the quote would meet the finance provider's requirements. And then we would take the one application and we would get multiple finance quotes from all of the finance providers, the bank and the non-bank finance providers that are on our panel. And then we would go back to, let's say, Patrick, we would say, these are your options. If you used a home loan, this is what your installment would be, that's what your interest rate would be.
Okay.
If you used a solar finance loan, or if you used a rental product, these are your options.
Okay, and how long is that whole process? I mean, from me coming to inquire, you doing pre-assessments, Dominique, how long is that process?
The real
Roughly.
question is, how long are you going to take to send me your documents?
Oh, I see. So I need to be compliant. As soon as I send you those documents, you're ready to go with the pre-assessments. And then in closing, Dom, can you share an example maybe of a successful solar financing deal that you've been involved in, and highlighting key challenges that were actually faced and how you actually overcome those?
Great. So we spoke a few times today about businesses that run out of their home.
Yes.
And so we helped a customer who they were living in the property. They also had a workshop where they were operating a business out, and they wanted to have the self-employed, and so didn't have pay slips, but ran a business and had good accounts for the business. So we helped this customer, number one, be matched with the right solution provider who could create a solar solution that would help them run their business and live in the home. And we worked with the specialist bank to get them an installment sale agreement which matched the rate at which the income for the business. And they're a happy customer.
Wow. So basically, he gets to use his house as a business, but without paying the exorbitant amounts of fees. And he's probably paying less during load shedding. Dominique, thank you so much for those success stories. That is Mr. Dominique de Hart of Ooba Solar. That Ooba, remember, Mbugeli, it is OOBA Solar. Thank you so much for your contributions, Dominique. And of course, as you said, the competition is wide open. You are willing to partner up. So if abantu befuna ukuthi bakuthinte, they can actually get hold of you. We've got information got Dominique there, and you can also find it on the repeat episode as well as YouTube, as well as SABC Plus app. All right, Mbugeli, we're going to leave it there. Hopefully, I've helped you a little bit. That's my Christmas gift to you. Ukuthi I've taught you something new. Ukuthi senyazi ukuthi you can actually get solars. Ngaba installment, Mbugeli. It doesn't have to be out of reach or expensive. That's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for joining us in Salegan.
Yilungelo